Hey everyone, so today I can talk to you. I have a microphone. It's really exciting to be able to actually teach you a class instead of pre-recording. So it'll be a bit more real feeling for me. Today's class is a gentle class. It is for lower back pain. This is not for people who have an active injury or are going through an acute episode of lower back pain. I'm not a medical professional, so keep that in mind. If you're just starting this video, go see your physician or PT for that. So this will be a gentle practice, meaning we'll move slowly and stay close to the ground. We will use props. So I have a strap, yoga strap. You can use a belt or a scarf, a long scarf if you have one of those at home. I have a blanket. Any blanket will do. It doesn't have to look like this. And I have a couple of blocks. I like to use cork blocks because they're just really stable. You can use foam blocks if you have those as well. So let's get started. We're gonna come down onto our backs in something called constructive rest pose. So what I want you to do is keep your feet wide here, maybe mat's distance apart, and you can make adjustments for your own body as we go along. You're gonna slowly ease your way down onto the ground. We wanna rock the pelvis back a little bit. So you don't need to be right on your sits bones, but as you lay back, just kind of see if there's space underneath your back. And if there's a big gap there, rock the pelvis back so that the low back comes flush to the mat. Good. You kind of press down with your feet forward and down until the low back comes to meet the floor. And then let your knees drop down into the midline so that knees are touching, feet are apart. You can adjust the width of your feet until you're comfortable and walk the shoulder blades underneath the back there until you're nice and snug. And again, it's you're like scooping the belly so that the lower back touches the mat. And arms can rest wherever feels comfortable. I like to rest my hands on the belly. And as you rest here, start to draw your awareness to your breath. Notice the way the breath moves the body. As the belly lifts with every inhale and falls with your exhales. We're taking deep, long breaths in and out the nose. Keeping mouth closed. Letting the breath nourish the body. And let's just pay a little bit of attention to the sounds around us. That can really help to draw the mind into the present moment. Just notice what it's like right now, wherever you are. Good. Now flutter the eyes open, just gently here. Let's take a deep cleansing breath. So breathe in through the nose and open the mouth to exhale. One more time. Deep breath in through the nose. Open the mouth to exhale. Good. So we're gonna use a strap. So I have that close by. Sorry, I should have said that earlier. Haven't taught a live class in a long time. And we're gonna move into a pose called Apanasana. So keep your knees bent first and hug your left knee up into your chest. It doesn't have to come all the way. And once you've hugged your knee in, you can start to walk the right leg out. And it does not have to straighten all the way. So you can keep the knee bent, but make sure your toes are pointing up. So you can kind of feel if your toes are starting to come out to the side and that leg is rotating out towards the side of your mat. Draw it back in. Try to keep the leg straight as you move the leg down the mat, slowly opening in this front of the hip area right here. Stay connected with your breath. Taking deep breaths in and out the nose. And pay attention to that low back space. You want to keep the low back flush to the mat. So if you feel it lifting up off the mat, draw your foot back in a little bit. Maybe pressing a foot back down and forward into the mat until you feel the pelvis rock back, belly scoop, and the low back come flush to the mat. Good. Next pose we're going to move into is a half happy baby pose. So you might know happy baby, and this is very similar. We can use a strap for this, or you can just use your hand. I'll show you first with my hand, and then I'll show you the modification. So you'll reach your hand up for your foot. You can clasp the outer blade of the foot here, and the knee is bent. Sole of the foot is pressing up towards the sky or the ceiling if you're inside. And the knee is drawing down towards the armpit. Same thing with this right leg here, the extended leg. Keep the knee bent if it helps you keep the low back flush to the mat. Or you can straighten it if you have that space. Now with the strap, it's nice. You can just kind of loop the strap around your foot. And then you can relax the arm as you let the strap take some of that work for you. Soften the muscles of the face. Keep breathing. Deep, steady breaths. Good. So if you're using the strap, gently ease that off of the foot and draw the leg back down. Give it another little quick hug into the chest, maybe rocking it side to side just a little bit, just a small motion. And then we're going to switch sides. So go ahead and set that leg back down and move to the other side, hugging the right knee up into the chest for Apanasana. Keep the low back flush to the mat, so press down with this left foot. And you don't have to extend the leg all the way. This is not all or nothing. Relax the jaw and the muscles around the mouth. Good. Now we'll move into your version of half happy baby. I'm going to go ahead and put my strap around my foot. And draw knee towards armpit. Draw awareness to the breath. Just keep noticing the way the breath fills the body with each inhale. And as you exhale, exhale completely, letting the breath empty. Just another moment here. And then we'll gently slide the strap off the foot, setting that aside. Hug the knee back into the chest. Find just a subtle movement back and forth. Good. And release that foot back down to the earth. So I've set my props so far away from me. I hope you didn't set yours far away from you. So I'm gonna reach up and get my blanket. And I'm gonna use this blanket to prop my hips a little bit. Well, that's too much. You can always unfold your blanket when it's too high. Just unfold it, make it a little thinner. So I'm gonna prop my hips. And this again is gonna help my pelvis rock back and keep the low back flush to the mat. And I'm gonna have my hands down on the mat for a little stability as I lift the legs, low back flush to the mat. Lift my feet up towards the sky. And the knees can stay bent here. There's no need to straighten the legs all the way. Bent knees are awesome. And then once I'm there, I'm gonna do some little leg circles. I don't know if you can see, this is a kind of small movement. So if you can't see what I'm doing, I'm just moving the legs in little circles around and around. And we're gonna switch directions. So just keep going in this first direction for a little while. And I'll tell you when we'll switch. My low back is flush to the mat. I've got that blanket supporting me. And what this does is it helps create just a little bit of stability in the pelvis. Oh, hello, ant. It's a small movement, but you know, it's not actually super easy. I don't think my circles are perfect circles here. All right, we're gonna switch directions. So go in the opposite direction. And as you do this, try to keep the rest of the body still. So if that means you move a little slower, that's okay. We don't always need to do everything quickly. Slowing down is good. Good. All right, so let's just pause here. And let's pay attention to our feet a little bit. So we're gonna point the toes and then flex the feet. Try that again. Point the toes and flex the feet. One more time. Point the toes and flex the feet. Good. Now draw the knees back down. We're gonna hug both knees in. Good. And release the feet back down to the earth. So I'm gonna take that blanket out, setting that aside. And then, fancy move here, we're just gonna roll over onto the side and press up. All right, so what we're gonna do, sorry, microphone. We're just going to come onto the belly here. So make your way down onto the belly. You could have just flipped over like a pancake, but I'm gonna face this direction because I got a camera right there. So coming onto the belly, we'll just lay down here on the belly, making a pillow for the head with the hands. And this is awesome. This is an awesome thing to do for low back pain or issues, because you're putting the pelvis and the spine in a neutral position. Maybe a little less so because I've got my head propped up pretty high. You can lower your head if that feels too uncomfortable. But this really helps to get the pelvis in a neutral position, which is nice. It's much harder to do when you're standing up, but lying on your stomach is a really, really supportive way to find some ease in your posture. It's good for the lungs too. As you lie here, just notice the way the breath is moving the body again. This time you'll feel your back rising up off the earth as you inhale and melting back down as you exhale. I can hear the birds singing outside. I can hear cars going by. I hear my 2-year-old off in the distance. And the air feels cool on my skin. As my body gently relaxes, melting down into the mat. We're going to move into Sphinx pose, but don't move. First, just watch me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move into this pose, and I'm going to show you something that I don't want you to do. So what I don't want you to do, don't do it, just watch, is pull your elbows back really far and then crank yourself up like this. More is not necessarily more. I don't want you to crank into the lower back so that you're just upright like this. We want to create length in the spine instead. So it's not really about the back bend, it's about lengthening the spine. So for this version of Sphinx pose, this gentle version, I'm gonna have my elbows really far out ahead of my shoulders. So my shoulders are back here, and then you have this really wide angle in the arm instead of this 90-degree angle. We don't really want that. We want to have the elbows way out ahead. Good. So you can move into the pose, and if it feels too much for you, you can always come back down onto your arms. But just think of creating this nice long spine reaching all the way from the tailbone up to the neck here, the top of the base of the skull. Drop the shoulders down away from the ears. Good. Now in your Sphinx pose, let's activate the legs. We're going to strengthen the legs. So when I say active legs, find this little bit of strength in the legs, muscles firm, and you might feel the knees lifting up off the mat just a little bit. Close your eyes and soften the muscles of the face. Good. So let's lay back down, coming out of Sphinx pose. Make a pillow for your head with your arms. Here are your hands. Now we're going to press up into tabletop. So I'm going to slowly come up. And there are some things you can do here to make yourself more comfortable in tabletop. I'm going to take a blanket And I am going to spread it along the lower half of my mat here so that I have some cushion for my knees. If you have issues in the wrists, there are some things you can do. So normally in tabletop, we have wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. But for some people, this 90-degree angle is really hard to stay in for very long, if at all. So you can either walk your hands forward, you can come onto fists, or you can take a couple of blocks, which we're going to use anyway. Take a couple of blocks and come down onto forearms. I really like this. I think this feels nice and easy. So if you do have your arms on blocks like this, I would keep my hands like this in fists with the thumbs pointing up, or just fingers out with the thumbs pointing up. That way you keep this nice rotation in the arms like this. So I'm just gonna come into my own version of tabletop here. Good, and find a neutral position for the spine here. Drawing belly button up towards the spine. Good. I'm just holding here in tabletop. Lift your left leg out behind you if it's available to you. If not, that's okay. You can stay in tabletop. We're gonna just try to draw the knee up towards the chest. It doesn't have to make it very far, and let the spine round a little bit. Good. And then set that knee down. Other side. Lift the leg and draw the knee up towards the chest. Let the spine round. Good. Let's do that one more time on each side. Left leg lifts. Doesn't have to lift very high. Round the spine, draw the knee up towards the chest. Good. Right leg, last time. Lift the leg and draw knee up towards the chest. Good. Now we're gonna move into a grounded low lunge. So you'll take your left leg and draw it up between your hands. If your foot doesn't quite make it all the way, take your hand down here, hike it on up there. You're good. Grab your blocks, set them to the sides of your feet, and find a little bit of lift. Now draw the belly up off the thigh, meaning press your belly up towards your spine, so you're not dumping into the back here. You wanna find that lift to support the spine. And we'll hold here in a low lunge. Again, if this is a lot for your wrists to take, you can move your blocks out further, so that widens the angle here, increases the angle between the back of your hand and your forearm. Or if you have a lot of space here and flexibility, you can come down onto your forearms like this. But that requires a bit more flexibility than moving your hands out further. Breathe into the front of your right hip here as you create space. And see if both legs can stay active. So you might feel, especially this front left leg here is active, definitely, but you also want to keep this back leg active. Squeeze the glute. Nice and strong, belly to spine. Good. So I'm going to scoop my blocks back a little bit, and we're going to shift the hips back into half splits. So you want to keep the pelvis square here. So instead of turning in towards the side, pull back a little bit on the left hip. Then slowly shift the hips back. Good. And now for half splits, sometimes you hear the cue that your front leg straightens, which is not wrong, but you really don't need to straighten the front leg all the way, especially if you have tight hamstrings. Often tight hamstrings and low back pain go hand in hand. I'm just gonna keep this knee bent here. That can actually really help to deepen the stretch for the hamstrings, keeping the knee bent. And breathe into it. Don't hold your breath. Keep breathing. Deep breaths in and out the nose. And remember that you don't have to look like me. You don't have to look like anyone. If you're practicing with someone, that person's practice is their own practice, and everybody has their own issues. I don't have low back issues, but I have knee issues. Everybody is different. Everybody has something, at least something, some things that they're struggling with. Good. Now let's come out of this pose, and we're gonna switch sides here. So bring that leg back. Coming to your tabletop position, all fours. And now bring your right leg forward. Give it a little assist if you need to. Come onto your blocks. And here we are, square the pelvis. So draw this right hip back until your hips are in line. Both hip points pointing forward. Using the blocks to support the body. Both legs are really strong here. Remembering to breathe, drawing belly button in towards the spine. Opening in the front of the left hip here. Don't hold your breath. Stay in the moment. And then slowly shift the hips back as you move into half splits. Good. You can keep the knee bent. Remember, it's not about what the pose looks like. The real yoga is happening on the inside. And some of the things that look good aren't necessarily that good for you. You might think a picture looks really nice or impressive, but it's not necessarily the case that something that looks good, feels good, or is good for you. Keep breathing. Good. And then shift forward, coming out of this pose. Good. I'm going to bring my hands down to the ground to step my foot back into tabletop. And set my blocks over to the side. I'm going to come into a seat here. So make sure you find a seat that's comfortable for you, not for someone else, a seat that works for your body. I'm going to use a blanket to prop my hips. Good. And I'm just going to stretch through the sides of the body real quick. So I will lift my left arm up and over. Keeping the heart space nice and wide here, nice and open. And then switch sides. Reaching the arm up and over, heart space stays open. Long in the sides of the body. Not crunching down on the opposite side, but everything's nice and lifted. And back to center. So I'm going to bring my feet out in front of me, about hip distance apart. I'm going to come off the blanket a little bit here, because what I want to happen now, instead of propping the hips so that my pelvis rocks forward, that's why I prop my hips, so my pelvis rocks forward. What I want to happen now is the pelvis to rock backward. So again, you have that kind of scooping motion in the belly here. Instead of sitting up nice and straight, I'm gonna kind of slouch a little bit, strange yoga cue. And then I'm gonna bring my hands out behind me. So the reason that we're scooping the belly and rocking the pelvis back, this is more comfortable for me, you can move your hands till you're comfortable, is we're gonna activate the abdominal muscles. So you can kind of feel that already when you rock your pelvis back. And then I'm gonna try to come up onto my toes. Woo! I feel it in the legs already. You can stay here, Or you can try lifting your left leg. If you can hold it there, that's even more awesome. And then set it down. Other leg. Lift it. If your feet are cramping, don't point the toes. Just relax the feet. It's okay. Just being here is enough. And set it back down. Left leg. Lift. And set it back down. Right leg. Lift. And set it back down. Left leg lifts. And set it back down. Right leg lifts. And set it back down. One more time. Left leg lifts. And set it back down. Right leg lifts. And set it back down. All right. If you're with me, you can try to lift both legs. Maybe just a little bit up off the ground. Maybe a little higher. Holding for 5, 4. I'll do it quickly. 3, 2, and 1. Set the feet back down. Press yourself back up. And you can hug your knees into your chest. You can let your head drop down. Maybe rocking a little bit side to side. Good. We're going to windshield wiper the legs back and forth. So knees bent, feet on the floor, feet on the mat, hands behind you. Just let the knees fall over to one side and then the other. This can feel awesome for the low back, which, by the way, everything feels different in everybody. So if there is something that we have done or that we will do in this class that doesn't work for you, it doesn't feel right, pay attention to those signals. I'm not in your body. I don't know. Everybody responds differently. We're all unique. Just a few more rounds of this. Good. And then I'm going to come all the way down onto my back. I'm going to move that out of the way. Good. So I'm going to talk you through a reclined pigeon pose. So take your left leg here and cross that ankle over the leg so you're making a figure 4 shape, and try to rock the pelvis back again so that your low back's flush to the earth, and you can just stay right here with your hands on your belly. Some people might want to draw the legs up, threading the arms through so you can interlace fingers behind your right thigh and pull the leg towards you, but that can be pretty intense. So you have the option to just stay here on the ground. Breathe deeply in and out the nose. And at this point, just allow the breath to flow naturally. Without judgment, just pay attention to your breath. Not criticizing, but just noticing. Noticing what it's like. Noticing how it feels in your body. Relaxing the shoulders down into the mat. And let's switch the legs here. So you'll cross your right leg over your left thigh here. Coming into your version of a reclined pigeon or a figure 4. Shoulders are melting back down into the mat. Allow the eyes to softly close. as we come towards the end of our class together. Then uncross the legs. And we're going to end the way we started. So hug your left knee up into your chest. Keep the low back flush to the mat. Scooping the belly. And you can start to walk out your foot if that feels okay. And then switch sides, hugging the right knee into the chest. And today, you can go ahead and let that foot down. Today, we are going to not end in Shavasana. We're going to end in constructive rest pose, the pose we started in. So, feet are flat on the earth. I have mine about mat's distance apart. And press the feet down into the earth and away from you just enough so that the pelvis rocks backward, the belly scoops. And then the knees come in towards the midline, knees knocked together, feet apart. And the hands can rest wherever feels comfortable, on your belly, maybe down by your sides with the palms face open, or on the hips. Let's take a couple of cleansing breaths together. So find a deep breath in through the nose, filling the body with breath. Open the mouth and exhale. One more time, deep breath in through the nose. Open the mouth to exhale. Shoulders melt back down into the earth. The muscles of the face relax. Soften the space between the eyebrows. The forehead relaxes. And just enjoy this last time you have here on your mat, these last few moments of your practice today. And take this time to extend a little bit of kindness to yourself, appreciating where your body is today. Extending a little gratitude to yourself for taking this time out for your body, for your health, for your mind, for taking the time to slow down. And pay attention and tend to yourself. Job well done. We'll end with one last cleansing breath. Deep breath in through the nose, filling the lungs with breath. Open the mouth and exhale. It was an honor to guide you in your practice today. The light in me sees the light in you. Namaste.